After your bike, a cycling computer is probably going to be the next most expensive accessory that you will buy. Shelling out a couple of £100 or dollars on a half decent one and then only using it to track your speed and distance as you ride and maybe upload that ride to Strava would be like buying the latest smartphone and then only using it for phone calls. These days, cycling computers have all sorts of features. Admittedly, they won't all be everyone's cup of latte, but there will be one or two that if you're not already using, will add so much to your cycling when you do. Now, I'm not going to list specific models of cycling computers as they change so fast, but instead I'll be using my old Garmin Edge 510 to highlight these key features. The advantage of the 510 is that it is a few years old now, so the newer models will almost certainly have them plus a few more. I'm going to take it for granted that we all use our cycling computers to record and display the basics of our rides: speed, time, distance and route. But I would add to that a couple of other metrics that I would argue are equally as important, and they are heart rate and cadence. For me, these two metrics are very closely related, and I use them to pace myself. It's all about keeping the rhythms of my ride within manageable limits, particularly on longer rides. For this to be effective, it's important to know your own personal numbers, so your maximum heart rate and your natural cadence. For me, this is 188 beats per minute and 90 revs per minute. Once armed with this information, I then have an empirical indication of when I need to either push myself a bit harder or ease up a bit. I will also know exactly when to change gear up or down to accommodate that effort when I see my cadence start to go above or below my home position of 90 revs per minute. Knowing your heart rate can also help with training, as riding within various heart rate zones will give different fitness benefits. Now, I explain this in much more detail in another film, but for the moment, let's just say that the 7 heart rate zones are all based on a percentage of your maximum. Most cycling computers will not only do the calculations for you once you've entered your max, they can also display the percentage or even the fitness zone that you're currently in. So for instance, if you want to ride within your aerobic zone to burn fat, you will know at a glance when you're there. Most cycling computers have the ability to customize data screens, so having all of this information right there in front of you is very easy. So obviously, to be able to get heart rate and cadence data sent to your cycling computer, you will need the appropriate sensors. Fortunately though, these are now bundled in with most models, but with Ant Plus connectivity, you don't necessarily need to buy new ones every time. Once you have a set, you can use them with many different computers and even swap them between bikes. The new generation of sensors are now Ant Plus and Bluetooth, so you can also use them with smartphone apps and even your laptop for Zwift. While you're at it, it's probably also worth investing in a separate speed sensor. Even though most cycling computers now use GPS to calculate speed, things do go wrong. For instance, I have a particular spot on one of my favourite routes where trees make it difficult for the Edge to receive the GPS signal, and consequently my recorded speed drops down. Since I've been using a dedicated speed sensor, it is now far more accurate. Now, a couple of 100 meters where I'm riding at 6 kilometers an hour when I'm really riding at 30 kilometers an hour is no great shakes in the grand scheme of things. But I know that some cyclists are very keen to get Strava KOMs or just beat their own PRs, and if your speed isn't accurately recorded, then it might not happen, even if it did. So, although not strictly speaking a cycling computer function, This brings me nicely round to Strava itself. Virtually every cycling computer on the market at the moment will allow you to upload your ride, and with Strava's basic membership being completely free, it raises the question, why wouldn't you upload your ride to Strava? Okay, there might be some very minor privacy issues, although you can set a Chernobyl-style exclusion zone around your house, but all in all, it's a pretty amazing application. Particularly if, like me, you're a bit geeky and like doing all sorts of calculations with the numbers. Apart from anything else, it's just great fun looking at your rides and sharing them with your cycling chums. If you're a Sportif or Gran Fondo rider, many cycling computers have some kind of navigation function. The higher end computers will have detailed maps and voice guidance, but even some basic models have very simple breadcrumb style routes that probably won't show you the exact location of the lost city of Atlantis, but it might just make all the difference when you need to know whether to turn left or right. And finally, there are all of those little model specific hidden features that you will only discover if you have a bit of a deep dig into the menus. For instance, on my Edge 510 there is a virtual partner, a live weather report, and even a way of displaying a custom message on your startup screen. I've set mine so that it has my contact information, very useful in an emergency or if someone finds it. Many of the newer computers can display text messages, track your cycling chums, and even warn you of approaching vehicles. Now I know us chaps are terrible at it, but the way to discover these functions is to thoroughly read the instruction manual, or go on YouTube. So if you found this film useful, please like and share, and if you'd like to get the most out of your cycling, please consider subscribing for my regular weekly uploads. Thanks for watching.